Yeah, we are all set. How are you doing, Mr. Robert?
I'm fine. It's so funny because when the Skype was calling, I kept touching the screen because I'm so used to my smartphone.
Oh
I
no, God.
was
That's
like, bloop, bloop. Oh, shoot, this is the smartphone.
well, that's like my sister Laura using the remote control as a telephone. She got confused once. But anyway, so I look forward to having you over for
Okay.
Thanksgiving dinner Thursday,
It's gonna
and
be.
we're going to talk to Eric about some things. Hi, Eric.
He said, "Hi, Mom."
What you doing?
Bye-bye.
What are you doing? What
But
have
I'm
you
picking
been
the nose.
doing? Oh, what have you been doing beside that?
He said, working with Robert's friend.
Oh, Andy. Yeah, let's
Yeah.
talk about that. We can open with that. You've been helping Andy communicate with spirit, and apparently, anybody who's watching this video, even those who aren't, can do the same thing. So, teach us how to communicate with you, Eric.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about what you're doing with Andy, and go from there.
He said, well, what we do is we make it into a game. He said, and that's what I'd like everyone else to do is to make it into something fun. He said, when you do something that's fun, you're more interested in it and you want to keep doing it. And at the same time, when it's about play is like being on a river, it just kind of flows, right? And so, you do one thing for a little while and then you switch it and you start doing something else that's fun. He said, so what we were doing with Andy is I was asking him to visualize me in the environment somewhere, right? Because he said, you all know what I look like, right? So he said, I'd like everybody to do this, to make it into something fun. He said, I'm crazy as shit. So
Oh
he
yeah.
said, so visualize me in the environment. I'm going to be doing something uh, hilarious. I want to make you all laugh, he says. So he said, so just try and picture me in the environment. He said the other night with Andy, he said I was hanging around one of his friends and doing all kinds of crazy shit around his friend and making Andy crack his ass up, laughing. So he said that's what I'd like everybody to do. Just
Okay.
have some fun with it, right? And he says, and what'll happen in the process, Mom, is it'll help to strengthen their connection to me, right?
Okay.
And he says, and then if there are those people out there that maybe they aren't so in tune with visuals, right? He said, but what this will do is give them practice on that,
Good.
right?
And
And then of course,
coming from a place of play, that raises your vibration, so you're closer to
right,
Eric's vibration, spirit
right.
vibration.
So he said that's the key. He said
Okay.
bingo.
All right. You probably
So
already
he said,
said that in other words, but go ahead.
yeah, yeah. So he said so it's all about that. He said this is why um, I am the way I am. In spirit, and this is just how my spirit is playful. So
Hmm.
it's why people get drawn to that kind of energy,
Yeah.
whether it's me or someone else. They're drawn to that kind of energy. It's light. It makes them feel free,
Sure.
and that's what you are is free. You just don't think you are, but you are. He said, Mom.
So you want to walk us through some particular steps on what people can do to communicate, practice communicating with you? Step
He said, well,
one,
he
like
said,
that.
Mom, if we do those kinds of things, right, then people are so worried about trying to follow the steps. I have to make this step. He said, it's not really like a dance.
All right, we do it
Not
in
like a
general
formal.
terms. Just in general
Yeah.
terms.
He said, so we'll go through with what we did with Andy. So I just kept it very general with him. And he said, that's the way it should be with everyone. Just try to visualize me in the environment, right? So you know what I look like. So he said, so sit there and just focus on that. He said, you're sitting in your chair and you want to have some playtime with Eric, right? So he said, so sit there and ask me, well, Eric, let's try and have some fun. And then just try and focus on an area of the room. He said, you'll be drawn to a certain area because my energy will draw you there.
Hmm.
And then you'll start to get visuals and things, he said. And I may be doing something stupid as shit. I may be dancing around or I may be in a crazy ass outfit. Um,
Like, what did
you
you
know,
do with Andy? Just to give us a
oh,
couple of
okay.
examples.
So I'll tell you what. So, so Andy he had friends over and he was just, kind of hanging around with his friends, and he saw Eric around one of his friends, and he was doing all kinds of crazy shit, uh, dancing around him, humping the air,
Oh,
doing weird stuff like that. And then Andy started to crack up, and then of course people were wondering why he was laughing.
and did he tell them?
No, no, not at
Oh,
all.
no, no. So he can see Erik.
Oh yeah, Andy has an interesting. He has a very unique connection with Erik. Um, I should have asked his permission to tell all this
Well, we won't. We
because
won't. Let's not.
but but
Let's not.
but but uh, but he has a very unique connection with Erik. I've mentioned to him that I told you about how there can be something that Erik has said to me that he's only said to me,
Hmm.
and then Andy will hear it or repeat that back to me without knowing that I already heard that. Um,
Okay.
there have been other things that Andy has shared that he's told me that are specific to Erik, you know, and I've mentioned to you, but I've never mentioned to anyone else. So he has an interesting connection. He can speak with animals. He can do all kinds of things.
How interesting. Oh, I wish I had those gifts. And everybody has the potential. And
Everybody.
Erik can help you guys. What else can Erik tell the person interested in communicating? In playtime with Erik, what can they do? They focus on where their energy, where they're part of the room that they're drawn to,
Yeah.
and just wait until they get images.
Erik said it's pretty simple. He said, yeah. He
Okay.
said, and don't get frustrated if you don't pick up on anything, right? Because a lot of people will have other stuff going on in their environment.
Oh
But he
yeah.
said, I can tell you right now, the most important thing is you have to approach it as play and not work. Because a lot of people will do that. Okay, it's time to get down to business. So come on, let's play. Well, that's not going to be working, right?
You
You're
know,
so focused on being a taskmaster, it's just not going to work. He
I
said,
went
because I'm
to.
playing that.
I know. I went to a Kim O'Neill workshop once, and she had us do automatic writing. And my
Uh-huh.
daughter Michelle was with me, and we didn't share our notes. But at the end, um, we had both written that Erik was doing bunny ears behind Kim's head.
Yeah, yeah. See,
So
those are
we
the kinds
saw
of things.
him do that. So I mean, you'll probably see Erik do things like that. In other words.
That's perfect. That's a perfect example. And
Mm-hmm.
the other thing is, he will tailor it to your personality, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's how Erik is. Erik says, it's not a one size fits all. It will be tailored to your personality, but yet still have Erik's energy in it. In other words, oh gosh, how do I describe that? I mean, like the bunny ears, it's playful, right?
Yeah.
That's Erik, and it's something that y'all would find funny, right? But then for someone else, he may do the air humping or whatever, but it's still all about play and about being silly and goofy,
Okay.
you know? So it'll be totally Erik's energy and totally part of Erik's personality,
Yeah.
but it will be something that will resonate with you a lot of the time. It won't, he tries, well, I don't know about that. I mean, sometimes, most of the time, it seems like he chooses something that if it does like offend you or something, it's because he's trying to make you aware of something, but it's never like a malicious intent. I'm
Oh
bringing that up
no.
because some people may,
Oh
that may
yeah.
happen.
No.
I don't think it will
And can
because
people sometimes, if they pay attention, be able to hear him? Maybe
oh, absolutely.
maybe not in his voice, maybe in their own voice, but hear
Yeah.
him nonetheless.
Erik said, absolutely. He said, what we're doing with all this, Erik says, is we're building on things, right? So Erik says the visual is a good start. Most people are very visual,
Hmm.
he said. So this is why we're starting with the visual, right?
Okay.
And he said, and then what that can do for a lot of people is awaken other gifts that they have or other senses that are attached to those gifts, he said. So the visual can be a starting point, and then all of a sudden you can get a feeling about things, right?
Okay.
Um, a feeling of what his energy is like and stuff. And Erik said to backtrack, actually, the only reason you would know where to even go in the room to look for him is because it started with a feeling, right?
Yeah.
He
So
said,
that's
I've seen
probably the foundation right
that's
there.
that's the very foundation, but he said you're not necessarily completely aware of that, right? Because it can be very abstract. So he
Yeah.
said the visual kind of connects the two. And he said, and everything in reality starts from an emotion for human beings and for a lot of beings in the universe. It starts with an emotion that then creates a thought, right?
Mm-hmm.
That can create a visual, right? And a lot of
Mm-hmm.
other things. But he said, but I don't want to get too much into that because it'll pull away from what I'm trying to say. He said, so you start with the visual, and then you can build on other things. The feeling will come that will then attach to that visual that will let you know what my energy feels like, right?
Mm-hmm.
Most people said no anyway.
Yeah.
It's pretty chill, but then it's pretty crazy as shit and everything else too.
Mischievous.
Mischievous, all that. And then, words and things like that can come. And for some people, he says it may be instantaneous. For other people, it may not, he said. and it depends on your personality. But he said, I can tell you if you're always approaching it from a place of play and like a child would approach it, he said, then you're much more free for those other gifts to awaken more quickly or simultaneously. He said, if you're approaching it from a very pragmatic, analytical place, then it will probably go a lot slower.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're not approaching it as play.
Well, how can you distinguish from what you're saying, and what their own thoughts are?
Erik said, that's a very good. Erik said, I'll just put it this way. He says, whether it's me or anybody in spirit will never say something to try and frighten you and scare you.
Yeah.
So if there are thoughts that are fearful and, oh, no, don't do that. Oh, he said, that's your shit. That ain't us.
Okay.
Right? He said, if we're ever bringing up something that is, that may sound unpleasant or whatever, it's never going to carry an energy of fear.
Okay.
Ever.
Okay. And how else can you distinguish?
He said, because it's usually not something you would ever think of.
Oh, yeah, especially where Erik is concerned.
Yeah.
So it just comes out of left field. It's not like, it doesn't feel like you produced a thought.
Right. Erik says it'll just jump out at you, and it'll be something that either will surprise you or will be something you would have don't usually think of, Erik said.
Do you usually hear it in a certain place? Like, sometimes I think Erik, I hear him behind my right ear.
Right.
Maybe some people hear in the center of their head or their left ear behind them.
Erik said for most human beings, he said, in fact, he said, he's correcting me, because he said actually all human beings, male energy always is on the right side.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And female is usually on the left.
Oh, okay.
Right? And he says, okay, well now I know why. Okay, so stop it, you're confusing me, because sometimes he throws things like a lot of different ways, and then I'll try to say it.
Poor
And
Robert.
He's like, no, wait. Oh, wait. I'm like,
oh, he's funny.
He said, but here's the thing. It's because whether you're male or female, if people fall into, believing that males are this way and females are that way, and the roles of that, then the male energy will show up on the right and the female will show up on the left.
Okay. Right?
But if a person is kind of a mix and very free of that, it may show up more in the center.
Oh, interesting.
Well, that's neat. So it's like you're in between the two.
Like in front of your face or in the middle of your head or what?
It's just like you'll feel it like everywhere.
Everywhere in your head. Oh, interesting. Okay.
He said so. Never mind.
Uh-oh.
Oh, Lord, you're crazy. Oh. He's just saying yeah, it was something about bisexual. I don't know.
I knew that was coming. I think I channeled that because I knew he was going to say something about that.
Yeah, it was something about like sexual orientation or sex or something. Well, when I hear it and the reason I laugh and stuff is because I'll hear it, right? And then like if I don't say it right away, it's like smoke. It just kind of fizzles away.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird.
Anything else before we close and go on to another exciting subject? This was wonderful. Everybody can have playtime with Erik now.
He said, well, what I'd like everybody to do, because you all share these wonderful Erik stories of me pranking you and things like that, right?
Oh,
he said, and by the way, that was like my first lesson for everyone, is teaching you how to play, right? That was the first lesson for play. He said, this is another step to that, right? For some people, they've already gone to this step. But he said, what I'd like everybody to do, if they've started to do that, is, to write it down, journal it, maybe to send it into your mom, to his mom.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, do that because if you go to the home page and go to the right-hand sidebar, you have to scroll down, but you'll see share your story.
Yeah.
Click on it and then fill out the form. It's easy.
Yeah. So Erik says that's just another little thing, it helps you to connect with me and to just build on the relationship that we all have with each other.
And Erik, you love when they send in the stories too.
He said, oh, I fucking love it.
Good. So do it, people. All right. Sounds great. Anything else before we close?
He said, no, Mom, I'm good.
Okay. Love you both. Talk to you a little bit.
He's like, no.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.